Well, when I was in high school in Peru, where I come from, I was around 15 years old, I decided to become a poet. Basically because I wanted girls. So I thought if I write very nice romantic poems, the girls will come to me like crazy. It didn't work. But somehow I became a kind of authority in poetry in my classroom. I definitely became the best poet in the whole school, because I was the only one. But anyways, you know, some pride. And in my family, well, my family was very proud. My mother was, oh, my little Antonio's a poet. And my grandmother was putting some pressure on me, was saying, at least you have to bring one Nobel Prize. Maybe two. But well, the time passed. I turned 19, I was still writing. And suddenly a literary contest was around the corner. So I was preparing my beautiful poems that were certainly win, when I received this surprising call of a friend that I hadn't seen in some years. And he told me, hey Antonio, look, I have a rock band now, and we have a concert to give today. And our guitar player had the flu, so maybe you want to replace him because I know that you play guitar. Well, in those times I was very into playing guitar. I wanted girls, I told you, so it didn't work either. So I told him, well, great. I mean, rock concert in front of all these people, hopefully girls, of course. My guitar, cool, let's do it. So I went to his house that day to rehearse the songs. Well, the band was formed by, well, myself as a replacement of the guitar player, my friend and his friend, both very bad guitar players, both very bad singers, and both playing guitar and singing for the band. The place was a little improvised cafeteria in the garage of one of the neighbors of my friend, with 5 plastic tables. One of the tables was taken by us because there was no scenario, so we were sitting at the table with the guitars. The crowd was formed by 7 people, more or less, all neighbors and family friends of my friend. And of course, they were clapping like crazy after every single bad song that we were playing. They were very proud that these kids have talent, they were saying. Well, the concert ended. I was quite disappointed, of course, a bit angry with my friend for taking me to this kind of concerts. And my friend came to me after a concert and said, hey, we rocked. You saw how happy they were. I couldn't believe how lost he was in reality. I mean, he really thought he was a rock star because the people were clapping at him. So I didn't tell him anything. I got quite angry, actually. I went back home, and I was so angry that I couldn't sleep. So I decided to take revenge on my hands. I wrote my first ever short story from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., I remember, that night. And it was, of course, about a guy who plays guitar and sings in a little pub of his neighborhood, and he thinks that he's amazingly good because all his friends and family are there clapping at him. You know? And obviously, I also made him, well, the character, realize that he was living a lie in the most painful way I could. So that was my revenge. So I wrote a short story, and well, I decided to send it with my poems also to this literary contest. My amazing poems that were supposed to win the contest weren't even mentioned. But the short story won the second prize, and it was a quite amazing thing for a kid of 19 years old with his first short story to win the second prize. I had no idea why it won the second prize. I thought it was because it was very funny. I really made the character very ridiculous, no? So to take revenge on my friend. And well, I won good. My friends from the university start reading the short story. And far from laughing with the short story, they became, how to explain it, depressed, touched. They were sad. I destroyed their lives. And I remember one of them coming with me with a short story in his hand and telling Antonio, strong stuff. I left. Never told me why. I didn't get it. I thought, why? Sometime later, I was reading a short story of Jorge Luis Borges, this Argentinian writer. The short story is called The Shape of the Sword. And he has a phrase that gave me some light about what happened with my short story. Is this one. When one man does something, it is as if all men have done it. The way Borges was saying it is, the situation he was showing in his short story was that a man was making a character of his short story, was doing a very shameful act, an embarrassing act. And the character that was next to him was feeling embarrassed himself. And that happened to all of us. No? If we see somebody that is doing something embarrassing, we feel the embarrassment also, like if we were that person. So I thought, I elaborated a bit, of course, and I thought, let's go back to my short story. Of course, the people who were reading the short story weren't laughing at the character, they were becoming the character. They were rescuing the basic feeling of fake self-confidence, if you want, and they were putting themselves in that situation. And they were transporting it to their own stories. For example, if an architect reads the short story, he will end thinking, am I a good architect? Or maybe it's because my friends and my colleagues are telling me, oh, you're a good architect, eh? Go ahead. The same if, come on, people started thinking, am I a good lover? Or is that my girlfriend is telling me that and maybe she's lying? You see, so I killed the confidence of all the people who were reading the short story. But it's an interesting mechanism. No, how I dropped a message that is very human, the feeling of confidence, and the people was rescuing it and putting it in their own stories. I found a simple allegory of how to explain this. I don't know if you remember this, the communicating vessels, these apparatus that we used to have in the science labs at school. Basically are several different glasses with different shapes, but they are all connected in the base. So the principle is that you put water inside and the water races evenly in all the glasses. It doesn't matter which shape they are. Imagine that each one of these is a different person. We all have different backgrounds. We may come from different cultures. No, we are all different in history. But we are all connected in the base, and that's what I call the human link, because after all, we are all human beings. So there is a connection between us, no matter how different we are. So when some story hits the bottom and goes up, it fills up evenly. It adapts to our own story. You see, that's what was happening with my short story. They were taking it and adapting it to their own, no matter how different the people who were reading the story were. For example, when you watch a sad movie, you can even start crying, but it's not you, come on. But you feel like if it's you, because sadness is a very human feeling, and you share sadness with that other human being. I will go a bit further. It doesn't happen only with literature. For example, I I will try to show this in a different way. When I was 5 years old, I went to my first day of school, primary school. And I crossed the door of my classroom and I saw this amazingly beautiful 6-year-old girl. I fell in love immediately. I was astonished by her beauty. Well, for me she was beautiful. I know her now, she is not that beautiful. Well, time passes, you know. Well, I saw her, I was shocked by her beauty. And I only can compare that feeling with some picture I found not so long ago. That's exactly what I felt. It was the birth of a goddess in front of my eyes. I was shocked. That's exactly what I see when I see this painting. I remember my experience with this 6-year-old girl. I was 5 years old, it was all right. I know what you're thinking. Well, some years passed. This is a bit in the sad side. My grandmother, in her last years of life, she got an illness and she lost her ability to talk. So she spent most of her last years sitting down in a chair, looking through the window or watching TV, giving me some feeling that I only can describe as calm resignation, if you want. And this painting is, for me, that's her. That's Whistler's mother painting, just in case. Well, for me, it's not Whistler's mother. For me, it's my grandmother. It's exactly that. She's calm, sitting down. Even the colors are like a bit sad. That's exactly the feeling that I had. Not even Mr. Bean could destroy that. See. And finally, well, I have to talk about Peru. I grew up in Peru. We had more than a decade of terrorism. And those days were very bad. The city was in a blackout, no energy for days. The families were gathering around a little candle in the living room, listening to the bombs in the darkness outside, bullets going around. You never know what was going to happen. Anybody can get into your flat. The policeman and the army were running around, shouting. There were times of fear, stress all the time. And this painting makes me feel exactly that. I know that it has a totally different symbolism, and you can see it in lots of other levels. But there's a deep level there of the chaos, the pain, the stress, the fear that brings me to my own story, to my years in living the terrorism in Peru. Now, big question, how these guys manage to talk about my life in their paintings? They are dead a long time ago I was born. How? It's because they are talking about these very deep human feelings that we all share. It doesn't matter that I am from the other side of the world, it doesn't matter that I never met them, it doesn't matter that I wasn't even born when they did this. They painted a specific moment, if you want, or whatever, but it has something there that can go through the time and can hit me in my human link and goes up and gets into my story, and I transform it into mine. So these guys were communicating with me even if they were far dead when I was born. But this is not only about feelings. It happens with little things. For example, if somebody yawns, I know that it's because he's tired, it's because he wants to sleep. If somebody's sweating, it's because it's hot. These little things link us because I understand that because it happens to me. So, well, what to do with that? No? Well, after several years of this, I became a creative copywriter in advertising. And as you know, advertising is all about communicating effectively a message to a certain group of people. For doing that, you need to know this certain group of people very well. Well, I was doing that. And suddenly, years passed, and I decided to move to Lithuania to continue my career as an advertiser. When I decided this, my friends of Peru told me that you are crazy, come on. Lithuania is a country that is in the other side of the world. It has people that have a totally different cultural background, no? Different tastes, different history. So how are you going to communicate effectively a message to these people if you don't know them at all? They were right. How? Well, the point is that if you concentrate in the differences, yes, you will have problems, because you are seeing this group of people as totally different persons than you. But if you concentrate in the similarities, it becomes easier. We are all human beings, so why I can't communicate with them? I have an example that is one of my first commercials here in Lithuania. Basically, I took an element that is common in most of the human beings. For example, when you want to think, when you want to remember something, you always close your eyes to concentrate a bit more. You forgot the lyrics of your song and you close your eyes to remember it. You don't need to be Peruvian to do that. Lithuanians also do that, Americans do that, Africans do that. So, well, I use that for one of the commercials we did here. I hope this works. That's the way. You see, you grab an element that is common to all human beings, and you just use it. And you can communicate with any group you want, no matter how different they are from you, because you are pointing to the similarities, not to the differences. Well, just to finish, I have already 3 years working in Lithuania. I'm still an advertiser. I haven't been fired, so it seems that it's working all right. And well, I'm not proud to say this, but it makes my point. I don't speak Lithuanian. Still, I will. So, you see, I don't even need that. So, if you anytime need to make a piece of communication that to a group that you don't know at all, there's only one thing you have to remember: that we are all human beings after all. Thank you very much.